I'm a producer with 60 Minutes.
Because of you, my son is alive. I would like very much to return the favor.
I'm not going to tell you much about this one, and that's on purpose. Here's what you get. Jeff Bridges plays a college professor who starts to suspect that his neighbor, played by Tim Robbins, might be a terrorist. And that's all you're getting plot-wise, because Arlington Road is one of those movies that you absolutely cannot have spoiled for you. The less you know going in, the better. What I can tell you is that director Mark Pellington builds this incredible slow burn of paranoia and tension. The movie came out in 1999, and it feels like it could have been made in the 70s, in the best possible way. There's a classic paranoid thriller from that era that follows a similar path. But I'm not even going to name that one because it might give too much away. The whole cast is great. But seriously, if you haven't seen Arlington Road, don't look it up after this video, don't read reviews, just find it and watch it. That's the only way to do this one right.
At the bottom of the bluffs behind our house. You made it look like an accident.
How does a Martin Scorsese film just disappear? Bringing Out the Dead came out in 1999 with everything going for it. This is a movie that had Scorsese directing, Paul Schrader writing the script, Nicolas Cage starring, and one of the last scores Elmer Bernstein composed before he died. And when it hit theaters, nobody showed up. Even now, when people talk about Scorsese's best work, this one almost never comes up. Cage plays Frank, a paramedic working nights in New York who's completely burnt out from the job. He's convinced he's being haunted by the patients he couldn't save. The movie follows him through these nighttime shifts where a new strain of heroin is causing cardiac arrests all over the city, and he's just trying to hold himself together while everything around him falls apart. It's a dark film, but it's also funny in this pitch-black way that Scorsese does so well. Schrader adapted the script from a novel written by an actual paramedic, so the details have this authenticity to them. Ving Rhames shows up as this absolutely unhinged ambulance driver. The photography from Robert Richardson is gorgeous, and Cage gives one of the best performances of his career. This is one of the great undiscovered Scorsese films, and it's been sitting there for over 25 years waiting for people to find it. Michael Mann had just made Heat, one of the greatest heist movies ever. Everyone was waiting to see what he'd do next. And what he did was make a movie about the tobacco industry. On paper, it sounds like the most boring thing imaginable. Corporate whistleblower agrees to go on 60 Minutes to expose how cigarette companies were adding chemicals to make their products more addictive. But this is Michael Mann I'm talking about, so he brought everything he had to this story. Russell Crowe plays Jeffrey, the guy who decided to talk. Al Pacino plays the producer who convinced him to do it and then had to fight his own network when they tried to kill the story. And what Mann does with this material is extraordinary. He turns a story about corporate malfeasance into this incredibly tense thriller where you feel every bit of pressure the tobacco companies put on Jeffrey to keep his mouth shut. There's a scene where Crowe is just sitting in a hotel room and Mann makes it feel as tense as any shootout he's ever filmed. The amount of tension he wrings out of boardroom meetings and legal threats is ridiculous. He shoots corporate America like it's a crime syndicate, which honestly isn't that far off. The Insider didn't get the attention it deserved when it came out, but it's aged incredibly well. If you only know Mann from Heat or Collateral, this one might surprise you.
That bullet was for a .38 caliber. Do you own a .38?
Yes, I do.
David O. Russell made Warner Brothers extremely nervous with this one, and you can understand why. He was making an expensive war movie with a ton of improvisation, which is not how studios like to spend their money. His on-set fights with George Clooney became legendary. The two of them apparently got into it multiple times during production. But all that mess behind the scenes somehow made the film better. Three Kings is about American soldiers during the 1991 Iraq uprising who decide to steal a cache of Iraqi gold. Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, Ice Cube, and Spike Jonze play four soldiers from totally different walks of life. One's a former office worker. One's a religious ex-luggage handler. One's an unemployed Southerner. Russell uses them to show a cross-section of American society thrown into chaos. Three Kings barely made a profit for Warner. It didn't get much awards attention for its writing or direction, which is insane when you actually watch it. Over 25 years later, it's still one of the best war films made in that entire period. And it's probably the best film about the Iraq conflicts that anyone has done.
How you doing, Conrad?
I'm fine.
It's been a long time since Eddie Murphy gave a performance that really showed what he could do. But his dual role in Bowfinger might actually be the best work of his entire career. Steve Martin plays Bobby Bowfinger, this desperate Hollywood producer who has $2,000 to make his next movie. He needs the biggest action star in town, Kit Ramsey, played by Murphy. Only problem is Ramsey wants nothing to do with him, so Bowfinger comes up with a plan. He'll film Ramsey in secret without the star knowing he's in a movie. Then he'll fill in the gaps with footage of a guy who looks just like him. That guy named Jiff is also played by Eddie Murphy. So Murphy is doing two completely different characters in the same film. What Murphy does with these two characters is incredible. Ramsey is this paranoid megastar who starts to lose his mind when he realizes people keep approaching him and saying strange things. He has no idea he's being secretly filmed for a movie. And then Jiff is the complete opposite. He's this sweet, awkward guy who's just thrilled to be in Hollywood and has no idea what's going on around him. Director Frank Oz knows exactly how ridiculous the movie business is, and he turns the whole thing into this savage satire of how movies actually get made. "1999 had Magnolia. It had American Beauty. It had all the films I've been talking about. But there's one that almost nobody mentions, and it might be one of Spike Lee's best. Summer of Sam is set in New York during the summer of 1977 when the son of Sam killer was terrorizing the city. But Lee isn't really making a film about the killer himself. He's making a film about what happens to a neighborhood when there's a threat nobody can understand. How paranoia takes hold, how suspicion spreads, how people who've known each other for years start turning on their own. Lee assembled a huge cast: Mira Sorvino, Adrian Brody, John Leguizamo, Anthony LaPaglia. The film is dense and complicated, more like a novel than a typical movie. It jumps between characters, follows different threads, builds tension across multiple fronts. There's a level of grit and realism to it that makes it feel more like a 70s film than something made in 1999. Summer of Sam demands your full attention. You can't just have it on in the background. But if you do put in the work, what you get is one of the smartest films Lee has ever made. It belongs alongside Do the Right Thing and Malcolm X. The fact that it's been mostly forgotten is a shame.